Tequila Sunrise, 4:13 a.m., April 12, 2023. Xochitl, Oaxaca. The first rooster crowed, a piercing challenge that shattered the fragile peace of the pre-dawn. I stirred, the thin sheet barely a shield against the cool mountain air that seeped through the cracked window. Xochitl wasn't always like this. 10 years ago, it was a vibrant tapestry woven from cobbled streets, bustling markets, and the warm smiles of its Zapotec people. But now, a shroud of silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the occasional moan of the wind through the decaying buildings. The silence had descended abruptly 3 years ago. Tourists vanished overnight, replaced by a palpable fear that clung to the air like dust. Whispers of La Maldición de Xochitl, the Curse of Xochitl, began to circulate, a chilling tale of a vengeful spirit awakened by a group of careless archaeologists who disturbed a sacred burial ground. At first I scoffed. I, Mateo Alarcón, was a man of science, a historian by profession, not one to entertain superstitions. But the fear was infectious, and soon, the once bustling streets lay deserted after sunset. Shops closed early, doors bolted shut as tightly as rational minds could manage. Curiosity, however, is a stillborn companion. The historian in me itched to unravel the mystery, to separate truth from folklore. Perhaps, I reasoned, if I could understand the source of the fear, I could help dispel it. Hence, my pre-dawn excursion. Armed with a flashlight and a tattered map salvaged from a dusty bookstore, I found myself navigating a labyrinthine network of alleyways, the air thick with the scent of decaying flowers and damp earth. The map, a faded blueprint sketched on aged parchment, led me deeper into the heart of Xochitl, away from the crumbling facades and towards the forgotten ruins at the city's edge. The silence grew even deeper, broken only by the crunch of gravel beneath my boots. The rising sun cast long, spidery shadows that danced on the crumbling adobe walls. An unsettling feeling settled in my stomach, a cold, prickling sensation that whispered of unseen eyes. I quickened my pace, the urgency growing with every step. Finally, the map led me to a clearing dominated by a towering, dilapidated pyramid. Time and neglect had weathered the structure, its once vibrant murals reduced to peeling paint and faded symbols. Vines snaked through the cracks in the stone, a testament to nature reclaiming what was rightfully hers. I circled the pyramid, searching for clues, for anything that might shed light on the supposed curse. A sudden gust of wind rattled the dry leaves scattered around the base, sending shivers down my spine. "Hola!" I called out, my voice echoing eerily in the vast emptiness. "Hi, Algian. Hello? Is anyone there?" Silence. Only the rustling of leaves answered my call. Disappointment gnawed at me. Perhaps it was just a foolish chase after ghost stories, a waste of a perfectly good sunrise. I turned to leave, but a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye made me pause. A shadow. Briefly, almost imperceptibly, it darted across the base of the pyramid. My pulse quickened. I aimed my flashlight at the spot, a bead of sweat forming on my forehead. Nothing. Or was it? Just as I convinced myself it was a trick of the light, a whisper reached my ears. A soft, mournful sound that seemed to originate from within the very stones of the pyramid. Xochitl. The single word hung in the air, chilling me to the bone. It was a woman's voice, filled with a sorrow so profound it resonated in my soul. Then, another whisper. And another. Each utterance carried the same word, growing louder, more insistent. An unnerving rhythm began to form, the whispers weaving into a haunting chorus. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, tripping over an uneven stone. Scrambling to my feet, I bolted towards the edge of the clearing, the whispers rising in a crescendo behind me. "Xochitl! Xochitl! Xochitl!" Reaching the tree line, I didn't dare look back. I plunged into the woods, the desperate chants echoing through the trees, propelling me forward. I ran blindly, branches whipping at my face, lungs burning, until finally, I could run no more. Collapsing against the rough bark of a giant oak, I gasped for air, my heart thundering in my chest. As the sounds of my ragged breathing filled my ears, the whispers slowly faded. Replaced by the silence that followed the fading whispers was almost worse. It felt heavy, watchful, as if 1,000 unseen eyes were now upon me. I forced myself to my feet, legs shaky and limbs leaden. The woods seemed different somehow, darker, denser. The play of sunlight through the leaves was no longer comforting, but an unsettling mosaic of light and shadow. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent fresh tremors through me. Reason told me to follow the path back to the town square, but a primal fear kept me rooted to the spot. The whispers still lingered in the back of my mind, their mournful cadence echoing in the quiet. Suddenly, a guttural screech pierced the stillness. It was unlike any sound I'd ever heard, a mix of screech and growl that sent shivers down my spine. I spun around, heart leaping into my throat, searching for the source. Nothing. But the silence that followed was different now. It was charged with an unseen energy, a sense of anticipation. I held my breath, straining to hear any further sound. Then, a movement in the corner of my eye. A figure emerged from behind a thicket of trees, bathed in the dappled sunlight. A woman, tall and slender, with hair like spun obsidian cascading down her back. But it was her eyes that sent a jolt of terror through me. They were black, bottomless pits devoid of any light, reflecting an ancient pain. She wore a white dress, tattered and stained, that seemed to flow around her as she moved. Her bare feet made no sound on the forest floor as she approached me, a predatory grace in her every step. "Mateo Alarcón," she spoke, her voice a chilling whisper. It was the same voice I had heard before, the voice of the whispers. My voice caught in my throat. Fear rendered me speechless, a cold sweat drenching my clothes. "You have disturbed her slumber," she continued, her words slow and deliberate. "You have awakened Xochitl." The name hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. Xochitl, the name of the curse, the name of the vengeful spirit. "Who are you?" I finally managed to croak, my voice barely a rasp. A ghost of a smile played on her lips. "I am her voice," she replied, the black eyes boring into mine. "And you will be her messenger." Before I could react, she stepped closer, her hand reaching out to touch me. A surge of icy cold ran through me as her fingertips brushed against my skin. Then, just as abruptly, she stepped back. "Go now, Mateo Alarcón," she commanded. "Tell your people what you have seen. Tell them Xochitl awakens. Tell them she thirsts for vengeance." And with that, she vanished. Like a wisp of smoke, she dissolved into the dappled sunlight, leaving me alone in the silent woods. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like an eternity. The fear was a cold weight in my stomach, paralyzing me. Finally, I stumbled back towards the path, legs shaky and mind reeling. The whispers seemed to follow me, echoing in the trees, a chilling reminder of the encounter. Reaching the town square, I found it deserted. The shops were boarded up, windows dark. An unsettling quiet hung in the air, broken only by the distant cawing of crows. Panic surged through me. Had they already left? Had Xochitl unleashed her vengeance upon the town? Desperate for answers, I raced towards Abuela Elena's house. Elena, the town's oldest resident, was a repository of stories, both real and fantastical. Perhaps she could shed some light on the events that had just transpired. Banging on her weathered door, I waited with bated breath. Finally, the door creaked open, revealing Elena's wizened face. "Mateo?" she rasped, her voice raspy. "What brings you here in such a state?" I stumbled into the house, babbling about the whispers, the woman, Xochitl's awakening. Elena listened patiently, her eyes filled with a knowing sadness. When I finished, she spoke, her voice low and grave. "The curse of Xochitl," she said, "is more than just whispers, Mateo. It is a reckoning, a reminder of the price we pay for disturbing the past." Her words hung heavy in the air, leaving me with a chilling realization. The whispers were no mere ghost stories. They were a warning, a harbinger of a darkness that was about to engulf Xochitl. And now, I wasn't just a historian, I was a reluctant herald of doom. Elena, frail though she was, offered a glimmer of hope. "There's an ancient ritual," she explained, her voice strained. "A dance performed at the full moon, an offering to appease Xochitl's spirit." The full moon wasn't far off, 2 nights. It was a slim chance, but it was all we had. Elena, despite her age, helped me research the ritual, deciphering cryptic glyphs from a hidden scroll. The dance was intricate, a plea for forgiveness woven into movement. Learning it in such a short time felt like an impossible feat, but desperation fueled my every step. The townsfolk, upon hearing the news, emerged from their self-imposed exile. Fear gave way to a desperate hope as we practiced in the town square under the watchful eyes of the setting sun. The night of the full moon arrived, casting an eerie glow over Xochitl. We gathered at the base of the pyramid, a silent, determined group. Dressed in white, barefoot on the cool stone, I began the dance, every movement echoing Elena's instructions. It felt surreal. Me, a man of reason, performing an ancient ritual. Yet in that moment, reason took a back seat to the primal need for survival. As the dance reached its crescendo, a cold wind swept down, whipping at our clothes and carrying with it a guttural moan. The air crackled with unseen energy. Then, silence. An agonizing silence that stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Just when hope began to dwindle, a flicker of light appeared at the peak of the pyramid. It grew brighter, revealing a figure bathed in the moonlight. The woman. But this time, her eyes held a flicker of something new. Curiosity, perhaps even understanding? She raised a hand and the wind died down. The oppressive feeling lifted, replaced by a strange sense of peace. She spoke, her voice no longer a chilling whisper, but a mournful lament. "You have heard my plea," she said, the words echoing through the night. "You have acknowledged my pain." With that, she turned and vanished into the moonlight. We stood there, breathless, unsure of what had just transpired. Had we appeased Xochitl, or was this merely a temporary reprieve? Dawn arrived, painting the sky with a hopeful orange glow. The townsfolk returned to their homes, cautious optimism replacing the fear. As for me, I stood before the pyramid, a solitary figure bathed in the golden light. Whether the curse was truly lifted, only time would tell. But one thing was certain. Xochitl's whispers had changed me. They had transformed a historian into a reluctant believer, forever bound to the secrets of this haunted town.